Hi, everybody. This is Bob Ost, and welcome to Theater Resources Unlimited to our monthly panel. This is March 25th, and happy anniversary, COVID. We've been through a year of it. We're still in shutdown. We're still doing what we have to do to stay healthy, but hopefully there's a little bit of an opportunity now of seeing things coming back to normal because we're all getting vaccines. Tomorrow I'm getting my second vaccine. Yay. It's amazing what we can get excited about these days.
Yay, yay.
It's really amazing. Maybe a little sad, but it's amazing what we get excited about. So I'm having my second vaccine tomorrow, and there is talk about the fact that live performance is going to come back. We've had in our weekly conversations on Fridays, which is our community gathering, we've talked a lot about some of the initiatives that are going to be slowly reopening theater. Most of them are outdoor performances. We're going to be talking about those in a couple weeks as well. But we're also looking at the possibility of having some live theater maybe in the fall. I'm not sure. It's hard to make predictions about this. But in the meantime, we spent a year learning how to do Zoom and learning how to do virtual theater. What have we learned? One thing I think that some of us have learned is that it's possible and that it can be artistically fulfilling. And there are things that you can do in Zoom that makes life and art worth living. So given the fact that so much of what we're doing is now in Zoom, we've actually had to shift our focus a little bit about who our audiences are. Remember when we used to try to promote to our zip code? We get so specific we would do within our zip code. Well, we no longer have a zip code. Our zip code is Zoom. And that means that we are getting our work out there around the world. It's crazy. Just today, we have people in here from the West Coast, and also, Joelle, you're here from Malaysia. God bless you. It's a whole new world, and because it's a whole new world, I think we have to approach audience engagement in a different way, and we have to recognize that we have larger audiences that we're now reaching out to. So let me start by just introducing our guests. Three people I love very much, and don't see nearly enough. Toni, let's start with you. Say hi. Oh dear, is your screen frozen? I'm readmitting her.
Frozen on such a nice picture of her, at least.
Yes, I thought I was talking to her like live. It's like, whoa. So Toni, are you with us again? Well, we're going to come back to Toni. We're going to start with Monica. Hi, Monica Hammond. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. I'm living the COVID life.
Aren't we all?
La vida COVID.
Yes. I'm out here on Long Island myself. I left the city a couple of years ago, so at least I have a little space these days.
That's nice. So actually, talk a little bit. A lot of people know you from Ken Davenport Theatricals, and talk about what you did there, and what your transition is. I mean, you did a specific pivot. You did a very specific COVID pivot. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So for 6 years, I was the director of marketing for Davenport Theatrical Enterprises, and I did marketing for all sorts of Ken's businesses. He's what I call a serial entrepreneur like myself. He's got tons of businesses. He's got a board game, many shows, the Theater Maker Studio, all of that. So I'm well versed in marketing products as well as shows. So I've worked on Once on This Island largely. We still work with large advertising agencies like AKA, Spotco, all them. And I would come in and do sort of supplemental marketing and also keep an eye on the agencies and make sure they're not like crazy overcharging us for things, or, if there's something that we could do in-house and save, $10,000, $20,000, then that's where I would come in as well. So I did all the email marketing for Ken's shows, especially once on this island, and I'm gonna keep doing more show marketing for him, which I'm really excited about. So in January, I actually left my position as director of marketing and I formed my own company called Big Leap Brands. And I help theater makers and people in arts-based industries find their spark of opportunity and fan the flame, is what I'm saying. So it's
Find
really
the spark of opportunity in what? I'm sorry.
fan the flame.
Oh, fan the flame. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so helping people, grow and scale their businesses, specifically theater makers who have had to pivot during this crazy time. And, so many of us either lost jobs and we lost day jobs and our career. So helping people build their side hustles. As Nico also said earlier, I also run Broadway Murder Mysteries, which is a murder mystery company that I created last March, again, at the start of COVID. So that's been really fun as well.
And we have a podcast about a murder mystery that we're going to talk about on April 23rd. I just can't keep up with all that. I think it's the 23rd.
Yeah.
So podcast is an area that we're interested in. It's an area that has become of greater interest while we've been in this shutdown, looking for different areas of creativity and artistic outlet. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about what has changed in terms of how you're marketing things now versus before COVID. I'm hoping that we're going to get Toni back.
Yeah.
And there. Yes, you do have her. I can still have Toni talk to us now. She's on her phone.
I am on my phone. My internet just went left, so I was trying to get back in. So,
and it's hilarious because the picture that you had on your screen was so good and so vivid. I thought that for all the world, I thought I was talking to you.
Yeah, and it was just frozen. Just absolutely. Yeah. It's the type of day I'm having. But
so you have a similar story to what Monica has, although you didn't hear it. But Monica was talking about being part of a very, very large organization, a much larger organization, Ken Davenport Theatricals, a serial entrepreneur, Ken Davenport. And you also come from a background with a larger company, a well-known company, one that I've known Donna Walker-Kuhn since I started TRU.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about then and now. So what were you doing then, and what are you doing now?
Okay, so as you know, Walker International Communications Group is a multicultural BIPOC organization who dealt in marketing for Broadway and off-Broadway shows, along with cultural institutions. There, I started out as an intern and moved all the way up into marketing, managing director for Donna Walker-Kuhn. So that was over a span of maybe about 6-7 years. Then ventured off on my own under my company, Realemm Productions. And we specialize in marketing as well, along with promotions and PR. So we do Broadway, off-Broadway, and also we're getting into sponsorships, partnerships, along with co-producing opportunities. So in the theater, television, and theater world.
So Monica gets people to take a big leap and you reel them in.
There we go. Figuratively speaking,
you guys could do a duet together.
We got some energy.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's really exciting. I'm still in contact with Donna Walker-Kuhn. She is a mentor of mine. So it's lovely just to have her pass the baton on to me as she continues on with what she's doing in the marketing world, but along with her EDI, and talking and then speaking engagements along with her studies and books that she's doing. So she's into a lot.
Roger, you've kind of have a similar story. I mean, you've gone from one company to another, only in this case, they're both your companies. so tell me how it was working for the old Roger Gonzalez versus the new Roger Gonzalez. You're muted.
There we go. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate it, and very happy to be with this panel. Actually, it's a funny thing. A lot of people don't really know that I was also in multicultural marketing for many years. I was the general manager at El Diario La Prensa. I was the publisher of Mira, which was the Spanish Enquirer. I started my career at CBS. So I have a long, corporate 500 advertising agency and media history. I kind of branched out onto my own, even though I've been acting and doing theater, since I was 5. I kind of branched out on my own during that first recession around 2006. I just had this idea that I wanted to do theater and theater related things full time. So I did 2 weird things. One is I became a college professor teaching marketing, multicultural marketing. And the second thing I did was I started localtheaterny.com, which now, going back, is localtheaterusa.com. I had 2 choices. I could have closed up the website because nothing is happening. I didn't make a penny for almost an entire year on that site because everything died. Or I could have looked at this new digital world and I thought, you know what? There's so much great theater all over the country. We have people from LA. Zoom has opened that door. So I'm going to do Local Theater USA. My business model is completely different. My whole goal is to promote theater all over the country. As far as the marketing, I'm a publicist. I am a marketing consultant. I work with entertainment and non-entertainment clients. And this is a tricky time for everyone because everyone's asking the question that you're asking and the folks here are asking is, what do we do now? So I'm happy to be here and talk about that. Thank you, Bob.
We talk a lot about what do we do now, but what we want to focus on is how do we get people to see what we do now?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay. That's that to me is a very interesting. I'm expecting some surprising answers tonight. I don't want to put you guys on this spot, but I think that there is a new way of thinking about marketing while we're in the Zoom world. I think so much has changed. Why don't we look at it this way? I'm going to ask each one of you, tell me what you thought were the key parts of marketing pre-COVID and what has changed now. So you want to take a moment to mull? With a hand raised, tell me who's ready. Roger, okay.
That's a great question because I think about it a lot. So before I say what I think has changed, let me tell you what hasn't changed, okay? Because there's a lot of things that haven't changed that I think we get wrapped up in this idea that, oh my God, it's different, it's challenging, it's a whole, but there are 5 things that have not changed. One is you have to have a good product, all right? If you don't have a good product, whether it's on Zoom or a stage opens up or, a video site-specific type of presentation of your play, it still has to be good. It has to be well-directed, well-acted, well-produced. It has to be better than the last Zoom that we saw because Zooms, when you throw them together, they're boring. No one cares. No one will stick around. But if you do it in a way that's better than the last time, then you're talking. You still have to identify your audiences. That has not changed. How we do it may have changed, but you still have to, maintain that. You still have to figure out how to reach those audiences once you've identified them. And that has also changed dramatically because reaching them in a digital realm is very different than the zip codes and the postcards and, the poster outside your theater. So that's a big one. You have to identify what the wants and needs are of your audience because when a playwright or a producer says to me, my show's for everyone, I go, uh-oh. That's when things get
Kiss of death. Kiss of death.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. So who's going to want to see your show? Like your stakeholders, the people who are related to you, your family, your friends, the people in the theater company, the people who've already followed you, and who's going to want to see the show for other reasons? Who's going to need to see the show because the topic is so emotionally engaging? So those things happen. And this is an area where I think a lot of folks still make a mistake, is you have to come up with a strategy to communicate to those audiences and show them that you can fulfill those wants and needs. I just had a conversation with a theater company recently, and just out of curiosity, I said, do you have any kind of a marketing strategy, any kind of a mission, vision statement? any positioning statement? Do you have anything like a marketing plan? And the answer was no. No, we're reacting instead of being proactive. And so I think those things are the same. If you look at those 5 things and you stay with those 5 things, then all you have to do is figure out what within those 5 things has changed. Like finding an audience is no longer direct mail, it's email. It's no longer
Well, it actually has been
like that.
email for a long time. I
It
mean,
still is, yeah.
yeah.
But
It-
you know,
it-
it's surprising how many people did not nurture their email list during this whole year.
I think of one thing. I just want to jump in for a second. I think that direct mail campaigns that are actually snail mail campaigns actually have had their value over
They
the
do.
last couple of years because
Yeah.
they stand out because not that many people do them. Now I think it has less value because who goes to Zoom from a snail mail? I don't know. What do you think? Do people? Yeah, Toni.
Yes, I totally agree with everything that Roger said. I'm even going to take that a step further. I do feel marketing now, besides email, has went to social media. So the reach for social media is really important, and finding a strategist on social media is even more important. You have to reach that demographic. You need to reach, like Roger said, it has to be specifically targeted for that audience. So once you know who your audience is, you can actually do analytics on social media. So it is very, very important to reach folks that way. And then it also gives you a broader landscape in social media. So you can reach people in different states, different countries, much easier than email or in conjunction with email. Snail mail, I never really was a big fan of it. I like it just for kind of like a backup. We always did use email, but now for us in this landscape, it's social media. IG specifically, and then Facebook. And then we use Twitter. So we use it in that realm because, again, knowing your audience, IG is a little bit a younger audience. Facebook is a little bit older. And Twitter is
Instagram,
kind of
everyone.
like Instagram. Yes, I'm sorry. IG. I will always say IG. So it's a different way. It's just knowing your audience and how to target that way. So it's buying boost, it's buying, ads on social media. That is very
before you go there, I want to go back and define a term because you guys are marketing guys, and so you say a term and you think that everybody knows what that means.
I'm sorry.
What does strategy mean? This is where we're starting from. The point of discussion is strategy. You're saying that you have to have a strategy. What does that mean to people? How can they have a strategy? Do they buy it at Kmart?
No, you could hire someone like any of us for sure.
And then tell us Monica, what does strategy mean to you when you come on board? How do you help them?
Yeah, so like Roger said, you need to figure out really who you're talking to, who your audience is, what types of people are going to resonate with your show. You figure out what that messaging is, how to communicate that with them, how are they going to respond? Can you use language that these people are already using on Facebook? So a lot of times we'll do surveys for shows and different product launches and things and get people's feedback or challenges with things or how they're feeling about things, and then use that specifically in our marketing messaging. So we're reflecting back at them their own exact same words. So that's one thing. And then of course, integrating a social media strategy. It's not just posting random stuff on social. Like Toni, I'm sure would say, I would not consider myself a social media expert, but you have to cultivate that audience. You have to see what they're engaging with and resonating with, because nowadays more than ever, from my perspective, it's less about volume and more about the value and the quality of the people and the quality of the engagement that you're getting. Because you could have 1 million followers, but if you get 2 likes a post, then that is totally worthless.
Yeah.
And then for me, my biggest thing is email marketing. And that's where a lot of it hasn't really changed, I would say, that much, other than nowadays things are going to promotions a lot more. So you have to not only do you have to integrate email marketing, but SMS marketing. So text messages to just even make sure people see and open your emails. So really just come up with a whole integrated strategy with what you're doing.
I'm not sure that completely clears it up for a lot of the people that are here.
Sure.
Let me go to Roger. What do you mean by strategy?
Thinking ahead of the game. For years I've been
Oh, Monica, that wasn't to say that what you're saying it was great. It's just that it was deep.
Yeah, and I will get back to what Monica said because she's 100% correct. It's just that I feel like a lot of marketers don't think ahead of the game. In other words, and when I say marketers, I mean producers, theater companies. Doesn't really matter what who's doing the marketing. It's about thinking ahead of the game and saying, what do I want to accomplish? What's my end goal? How many tickets do I want to sell? To whom do I want to sell these tickets? That sort of thing. That's really it's really going to stop you. So the strategy is defining those things ahead of time and then deciding how you're going to be able to do it. And it doesn't matter if you decide to choose email marketing, that's great. I get a lot of emails, about upcoming Zooms and shows and things like that. Mostly the digital stuff that's happening now. I see a lot of posts, right? And here's an example of lacking strategy. I see a lot of posts about upcoming Zooms or upcoming shows or whatever it is, and no marketing behind it, no real messaging that says, Roger, you need to see this, or you should want to see this. And I think that's where the strategy comes in. If everyone were to sit down ahead of time and say, where are we going to go with this show? Who do we want to see it? You're going to solve a lot of problems that you never have to worry about later on. Because a lot of people jump into the marketing and their idea of a strategy is, like I said earlier, very reactive and not proactive. So just think about who you want to reach and what you want to say to them. And more importantly, how you want to hook them.
But strategy does need to be reactive to some degree because you have to see what's working and you
Absolutely.
have to respond.
But when it's the first step, it's the wrong step. It should be part of the full strategy. So you plan ahead, you be proactive, and then you make adaptations to your marketing strategy. I love using a one-page marketing plan because it's not complicated. It's not a thick document. It's something you can look at right away, and it tells you who your audience is instantly. And you can share this with your company and the people in your project, and they can see it right there. And then as things happen, you can react.
So
I was going to call on you anyway, Toni.
Okay. So I just wanted to piggyback on what Roger and what Monica stated. In reference to a strategy, we sit down with a marketing plan first. Then in that marketing plan, we build out a social media calendar. Yep. So we think of that a month ahead, maybe even a month and a half ahead. So while we're in the month, we're thinking about the next month. We make sure that each one of our clients has a presence in social media. If we're not talking about that specific show, we're talking about something to do with the client. So we stay in constant engagement with them. So it's not always a ask, see my show, see my show. Yes. We will just post something that keep folks engaged. It's really keeping things in an engagement process. So people know that you're there, and when you go to hit them, like Roger said, you're not just hitting them on buy my ticket. They're already invested with you. So it is a calendar. So that's where your social media strategist comes in. That is very important. Not just like Roger said, post, because people are tired of just random posts, because I know we all get hit with hundreds of emails per day, and we just go next. So if you're not engaged with that particular theater, that show, or that artist, or you could take this cast member, you don't look at it. So it's just engagement. So that's what we do. We do a social media strategy along with the marketing plan. I hope that better answered it.
I mean, all of it is answering it. It's just a very big question.
It is a big question. It is.
So, well, first of all, let's go back for a second, because somebody wanted to know, how do you do an SMS campaign? What's involved in that? How do you effectively do that? Monica, since you brought it up, you get it.
Great. Well, there's all different kinds of tools that you can use. So typically, the first thing is you need to make sure that you're capturing someone's phone number in addition to their email address. So let's say a lot of what I do is running Facebook lead ads, which on Facebook, there's all types of ads that you can run. You can drive people to a website. You can have them, watch a video, or you can capture them as a lead directly in Facebook, where you can ask for name, email, and phone number. So now you have their phone number. And then this is where it gets a little complicated, but I have an app that's amazing called Zapier. I'll throw it in the chat. That basically takes the contact information that you've captured in Facebook and puts it into whatever your CRM system is.
Is that ZS or ZAA?
ZAPIER.
Okay.
I was trying to think and type at the same time.
That's what I'm here for.
Yes. CRM, if anybody doesn't know, it's a customer relationship management system. So it's like a MailChimp. That's probably one that a lot of people are familiar with. So it'll take this person's information from Facebook and put it into your CRM system. And from there, different systems have different tools where you can literally, through another integration I use called Plus This, you can essentially just type out whatever you want to text these people. You can set it to be scheduled based on different events that happen. If they sign up for something in particular, it can wait 3 days, a week, right away, and it'll send whatever the message is that you want to be sending. So I use these a lot of times as reminders. Like I do a lot of webinars for clients. So you want to make sure that you get a really high show up rate on these things. Same thing like you could use with a Zoom theatrical piece. You want people to show up, remind them with emails, but in case they don't see that email reminder with the information on how to access your recording or your live show, hit them up with a text message as well that has the link or says, be sure to check your email for the Zoom link or whatever it is, and check your spam and promotions. I've started saying that everywhere, check spam and promotions, because emails are just more and more going there. So you just don't want people to miss it. So the answer is it's a little complicated, but I'll type it out a little bit more for you guys later and put it in the chat.
I want to go back to another point that was made. Toni was making. You were basically talking about the difference between engagement and selling on social media. Can we talk a little bit about that to give people an idea of what is engaged, what is the content that people are more likely to respond to?
For us, I'm gonna try to break it down in the easiest way. It's just maybe acknowledging what's going on in America, just doing posts about things. We don't have to go politically, but maybe birthdays, maybe celebrities, something like that. Maybe something that's happening in theater, something that's happening in the film world. Okay, I hear feedback.
Somebody was sneezing. I put him on mute.
It could be something as simple as that. We try to keep engaged just with something like happy spring. Spring is coming back. People are coming outdoors. It's just little happy posts, little cheery posts that you keep folks engaged. Something that we hit maybe 2-3 times a week. It could be something just happy. Not say something that's on the show. We could do something if our client is, let's say, from New Jersey. We're from New Jersey, and something happens in New Jersey about, let's say, stimulus checks, things like that. We'll just engage folks. So people are just hitting our site just for content.
But let's clarify something, because I think we're missing a step. Okay. You're doing all this from, I assume, an event page or a page that represents the show that you're promoting. So
yeah, it would be on our site. Like Realemm Productions has a Instagram site, and then we have a Facebook site. So that's where we're engaging our followers on that.
So that's your company engaging people. And Monica, I assume you do the same thing, and Roger, you do the same thing. How about engaging people for the show that you're promoting? What happens? What changes there when you want people to actually associate your company with the show that you're actually working on?
So for us, let's say on our Instagram page and our Facebook page, we will place our clients' Instagram handle, Facebook handle on our page. So if you go to Realemm Productions, you will see a list of our clients. So we are constantly tagging them in, if we know what that term is, tagging them in each one of our posts if we're talking about that specific client. So we have multiple clients that are happening all the time with engagement. So that's why it's so important to do a social media calendar. So you know what day you're hitting what show based on the dates of their events. Follow that.
Monica or Roger, do you want to jump on this?
Sure. If before I forget, because I'm one of the older people here, I think. Definitely.
I am.
So this is, Tony said some really important things. One is don't sell all the time. Every time I see a post on, not every time, but a lot of times I see the same group posting the same information about the same show over and over again. I have several Facebook groups and I'm constantly declining certain posts because it's the same exact post over and over again. And that group doesn't want to see that. And it's always salesy. A lot of times it's just salesy. Groups are there to create discussions. So this idea of creating engagement is a must if you're going to then try to sell them a ticket. I don't walk up to a stranger on the street and say, hey, let me sell you a ticket. But I can first go to the people who I know and trust me and like me and sell that ticket. And that's kind of what you have to do on social media. The other thing that was mentioned was this idea of Instagram and using the power of Instagram. But how few people do I ever see? I like to do shout outs. I offer free shout outs to anybody here, for anything that they're doing. So, I have 2,000 something followers. It doesn't mean it's going to sell anything, but if I can shout out your show, it's the equivalent of a recommendation of word of mouth. So utilize the same principles, but utilize them, on social media. And so I wanted to talk about that. And then what was your other question? Because I jumped, I didn't want to, lose that thread. I thought it was a great thread.
Did I have another question? Oh dear.
I know. I don't remember it either. So I know that Toni said something towards the end.
I have actually many questions that I want to get to. I eventually want to get to the whole question of what do we do different now? We really haven't addressed that. Basically, you led us down the path of what hasn't changed, and all of this is important. But at some point, I want us to talk about what maybe has changed. Maybe nothing has. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I have been wrong on many panels.
A lot has changed. So I don't want to take up all the time, but I just want to point out 5 things. Is it 5? I like to make lists. 5 quick things that have definitely changed. One is how you deliver your show, obviously. So you still have a product, but now you're going to create it differently and deliver it differently. And therefore, the people who are going to come to it are going to come to it differently. The audience has absolutely changed because a lot of theater companies over the years had built subscriber lists and had built, an audience base, a core audience customer that they were serving, and they were building on that. Now you have people coming to see your Zoom or maybe being in your Zoom from California, from, Malaysia, anywhere. And so that kind of makes it a little scary and a little challenging. Ticket pricing is absolutely different. So how you price point, go back to the 4 Ps, how you price point a Zoom is going to be very different from how you price point, let's say, a live performance. And once we go back to live performance, if you're sitting, in a world which is, maybe 25-35% capacity in a theater, are you still going to charge the same money? Probably not. You're going to have to think about that. The competition has changed, right?
Well, I don't know if I agree with, if you're talking about live theater again, I don't know. There's 2 ways of looking at it. Yeah, I mean, we've all been going through financial hell because of this stupid pandemic. But on the other hand, if there are only 35 tickets to be sold in let's say 300 tickets to be sold in a 1,000-seat theater, they're more precious. So I don't know. I wouldn't want people to undervalue them.
No, I'm not talking about the people paying for them. I'm talking about the producers who are looking at their bottom line. The producers who are trying to get a return on investment.
Oh.
You know, if you sell 1,000 tickets and you charge a certain amount of money, does that mean that you're going to have to charge more for that same ticket to make it up? You'll sell it, but you know, we don't know yet what's going to happen with that. So
Right.
pricing is a thing. And then two last things real fast. Competition. You know, maybe you're competing against another show, or you're competing against, you know, definitely competing against, you know, television and streaming services. But now we have more streaming services than ever. Now we have more Zooms happening than ever. So how do you kind of position yourself in that world? And then the very last thing, which will change how you do things, is casting. I know that doesn't sound like marketing, but casting, you know, now you have, before we used to have New York actors, right? In New York, or California actors. Now you can pretty much cast anywhere in the world. And with that cast member may come a new type of audience who's maybe following that cast member. So these are all new things that are changing.
Well, okay. I mean, there's a concrete thing is basically be aware of the followings of whoever is part of your production, whether it's a director or a cast member or the design team or whoever, and make sure that you're find what their handles are on IG, FB,
Yes.
and TW. TW doesn't have an initial for it. I want to, Monica. I want to go to you before I push this in a slightly different direction. Of the things that people have been saying so far, is there anything that you wanted to add, or something that would be more specific? A lot of what we're talking about is a little bit general. Let's think in terms of somebody in this room who has a specific show that they want to market. They're doing it on Zoom, fighting and kicking all the way, but they're doing it on Zoom. They would like an audience to be there. What from an individual point of view, what individual show's point of view, what are the things that people should think about?
Yeah.
Other than hiring all of you, because they should absolutely hire all of you.
One thing is, I have seen some really cool platforms popping up. One of them in particular is Stellar Tickets. I don't know if people here are familiar with that, but the Jim, who founded Gold Star, created this new platform that is really cool and super easy for theater people to use. It's basically a ticketing platform. I'm not here to sell Stellar, but it's like a ticketing platform all in one solution where you can run your show live or play replays that people purchase on there, and they buy it on there, they watch it on there, you can do email communication through there. So it just makes it really easy for the producers and people creating works. And they also integrate with Gold Star. So you have this massive reach now, and especially since you're not locked into only people in like the tri-state area, your reach is huge now on a platform like Gold Star, Groupon. Even, and something that I started doing that I cannot believe worked, is putting my products and experiences on a platform called Voucher UK, which is like a Groupon in the UK, and Groupon UK, because now you can have international people. So you put your show on there. Usually it's like a discount site, so you put it on a discount. And I am just seeing people eat that up, because now people in London can see your show. People all over the UK and all over Europe. I think I'm in Spain now too. Like that's definitely something that anyone can do right now.
So Toni and Roger, also, any specific things that you know about that are new to us during this period where it'll work on for Zoom presentations? Let's just think in Zoom for a second.
Sure. I'm just going to jump in reference to what Roger and Monica said, in reference to Roger's 5 points that he brings up. I do feel things are going back old school. And I say that as far as, I think it's all about relationships again. So we're going back to people who you have developed relationships with will actually follow you and watch your shows that you recommend. Another thing that Roger said. So it's like with all that has happened in 2020, things have now slowed down a little bit, that we're now hyped back up, but it's slowed down a lot more, and people are going with relationships. So there's cross promotion opportunities. So that's just linking up with different people who you send out their content, they send out your content. You can now use both audiences. So it expands your demographic much wider. It's going back to the tour and travel operators that you had relationship with, like Monica stated, that now are in different countries. So they're now watching us on Zoom. So we have started developing those, going back to those relationships. So it's a lot about just personal relationships that you have cultivated over here. And now you're going back to them and saying, well, hey, can you send this out for me? Can you send this out for me? And then, you know, by the way, how are you doing? How's everything going? So it's again of developing that relationship and then just cultivating it. So I think it's going back old school too.
So one of the things actually I wanted to say earlier about what hasn't changed is we haven't talked about a show having a website. Isn't that still kind of important?
That's always been important. Yeah.
Okay, let's not forget to mention that.
Yeah.
So, and also what I was starting to say before is that the show should also have a social media presence. I would think. So it's the website and the basic messaging of the website should be repeated in your social media site, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, to whatever degree you can. What do you guys think about video content on social media versus still content?
Can I just say this?
Yeah.
Video is one of the most important ways to tell your story. I mean, it you know, a banner is nice. You need it. You need a website, but to hear a playwright talk about how difficult it was to get, you know, his or her show going within a, you know, pandemic or what have you, and the challenges of raising money when the economy is bad, and you know, whatever, is part of that story that Toni was talking about earlier, because it's not just about selling, it's about telling your story. So what a better way to do it than video? People engage with videos. It's the most powerful tool, in my opinion, that's out there. So video is very, very important.
I'll just say that we had our benefit February 21st, and we did our first virtual benefit. And the whole thing was conceived virtually, and we basically used technology and we pre-recorded and post-edited and the whole thing. We did a video campaign. We had everybody I had a production company of 42 people, so there was no lack of content. Wow. But we were doing daily postings of people doing videos about their experience working on the show. Now, we didn't break records, but we did modestly well. We managed to get about 180 attendees for our benefit on, which, you know, we're a modest company, so it's a modest number, and we made a good amount of money. We actually equaled all of our past year benefits online, and that was without having $25,000 worth of auction items, including cruises. So
that's awesome.
But I want to say we did take the video approach. I was hoping to have a bigger response than we had, but we had a respectable response. So what are ideas that you have about how to use video more effectively in a way that will engage even more people? What didn't we do that we could have done?
I could tell you quickly, take that video from that event, edit it, and use portions of it in every platform that you have, and continue talking about that event, even though it passed, and then start doing all sorts of videos moving forward.
Roger has never heard of equity. Okay.
I
don't want to burst your bubble, Roger.
No, it's not burst. Actually, I can tell you this about equity. Years ago, I used to do video interviews of cast members, and you know, oh no, you can't do it. I went to equity. I sat down with them. There are ways that you can do video without breaking any equity rules, and I've been doing it since 2006. Absolutely. I mean, don't videotape a performance on stage with an equity actor. You can't do that. but you can interview an actor. So if you're doing something and afterwards the actor is willing to do it and you've gotten the permission, yes, you can interview that actor for your event.
Okay,
or
so
your
I thought you were saying that we should take our recorded benefit.
No,
and
you take parts of
edit
it that are not, no, not the actual performances. That
Okay.
obviously you can't do. But, and if you don't have equity actors, then get permission from your actors and do whatever you want. Just make sure you have the rights to put up whatever you want to put up. But, Bob, you should have, let me give you a challenge here. Do about 2-3 videos a week about anything about your organization. You'll start to see traction. Guaranteed.
And make the video short.
Short.
So this is an interesting thing. Facebook algorithm does better on 3-minute videos, and they keep telling you that your videos are too short. Oh, but I did not do that. I kept them to 30 seconds to a minute. But Facebook kept saying, "Why isn't it 3 minutes? We'll give it more exposure if you'll do 3-minute video." And it's like, I didn't go for that.
Yeah, don't go for that.
Okay. Okay. So Roger, also to go back to that, you're giving me a perfectly valid and good advice in terms of promoting my company. We're still talking to a room full of people that have shows that they want to get up, and they're not going to necessarily have as much. Well, they might have some use for it, but they're not going to. They want to know how to get people to the show, not use the show as a way of marketing themselves on an ongoing basis.
That's correct.
So let's keep on that. Let's keep on that track. Let's talk about how people can have their show be successful on Zoom and be attended by however many people you can fit in your particular Zoom account room.
Can I say, sorry.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
One thing about videos that is really cool with Facebook is that you can create a custom audience in your Facebook ad account of the people who watch your videos. And you can select in there which videos you want to populate the audience with. So you can literally start building an audience of people who have watched or experienced your content to then later serve ads to purchase tickets to your show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna email you for a little bit of hand holding on how to do that, because I haven't figured that out quite.
Oh, I got you. You can also, this is why I love emails, is because you can take your list of email subscribers, either people who have purchased tickets to previous shows you've done, people who've attended readings, your friends, whoever it is, you can upload those into Facebook as well and create a custom audience. And then next level is you can create a lookalike audience.
Yes.
So Facebook will create a whole new audience of people who have similarities in behavior and demographics to the people that are already buying tickets, already watching your videos, and populate that so you can serve them ads with different messaging because they're not aware of you. So you'd have to do that.
I so want to know how to do that. I so want to know how to do that.
I got you.
Okay. Anything else that we could touch on before we're already technically open to the room for any questions anybody has. I haven't seen a virtual hand go up yet, but certainly there's got to be somebody out there who wants to ask something. But anything else that we can add to this discussion about how it's changed? I started the whole conversation by saying we used to try to target areas. I talked about zip codes. I mean, how many of us have actually done zip code targeting because we knew that our show was going to be at Tada Theater on 28th Street or 29th, wherever it is. We no longer have to target by area. So it's become even more important to be able to target by interest, which Roger was talking about at the very beginning. Understanding your product well enough to know who was likely to be interested in it. And you might not always be right, but it's a place to start.
Yeah.
So how do people do that?
This might be a little bit more complicated. That goes on to the social media aspect. We go into our social media and we will actually boost a post. So in the boost, you can actually pick your demographic on lookalikes based on how much money you want to spend towards each post. and then do the lookalike based on that. So how far and wide you want to go out. So that does help as well to give you more boost, literally more bang for your buck. Does that make sense? Because we use social media a lot, but we also have a social media strategist on our team.
Jonathan Slaff, you're here and you do a lot of this. So are you actually here? Let's see. Yeah, Jonathan.
I am here, Bob.
So is there anything that you can add, because you do a combination of public relations and marketing. So can you give us a couple hints, a couple nice clues as to what else can be done?
Well, in with my clients, it's been enough to get them to do the tried and true things, to make sure that they download their buyers from previous shows and assemble a mailing list. And then I do, since I'm very good with web design, I can build their website and write their press releases and take their pictures and send out their e-blasts, all that together, which keeps the team small. And it enables me to be very responsive. It also enables me to mail out, to send emails in a very timely way, because I'm the one who hears about the reviews first. So you don't have to take the reviews from your press agent to your marketing company. I can just do that. And I don't do the social media myself. I have an associate who does it, because there's so much work in that. You simply cannot do the press and the social media together. But we work pretty closely, and we get it done very nicely.
I want to actually, Monica, your company's called Big Leap Brands.
Yeah.
Let's talk about branding. Let's talk about messaging. We haven't really touched on that yet, and Jonathan has sort of just implied it as well. So Monica, you call yourself Big Leap Brands, and you actually consider yourself a marketing branding person. So what does that mean?
Well, branding for me is really about how you want people to feel about you and your business. And then the way that manifests is through, your visual identity. So the colors of your website, the typography, all of that gives people feelings, and as well as the messaging. So the copywriting, the copy that you're using, and all of that. So all of that combined makes up your brand identity. And it's really how you want it to be consistent across all of your platforms, all of your marketing, all of your messaging, so that when someone sees it, they go, that's Big Leap. Like, I know that without even seeing the logo. I know that's what she's doing. It's consistent. And then that's how you can really start building extra value like that. So I work with clients a lot to figure out really who they are, what they want the world to believe about them. And the same thing with shows. I'll admit I haven't done a lot of branding for shows specifically, because we use agencies like AKA and that, but it's really about, like, what do you want people to feel when they see your show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. No, that's good. That's great.
Can I add to that, because that's so on the money. And I've been having this conversation with playwrights for several years now, where I talk to them, and that whole idea of starting early. For all of you who have a show out there and you're not ready to promote the show, or ready to sell tickets, or even ready to put the show up, you can start branding yourself as a playwright. What do you think of when you think of Stephen King? What do you think of when you think of Sondheim? I mean, granted, they had a lot of help building their brand with a lot of success, but that doesn't mean you can't start small and begin talking about what you love in life, what shows you're going to write about. Even if you don't have a genre, you can talk about your own life experience and how it applies to your brand. And that gives you an avenue of discussion, of connection, of engagement way before you get the money to put up the show, and you build that audience. So branding is important for the playwright.
And can I also jump in and say that branding can be scary to people who are afraid of commitment, but
that's quotable.
But the thing that's important to remember about branding is that you have to commit to it. That doesn't mean it can't change. but you have to commit to it and be consistent. And if you commit to it and you're consistent in your messaging and your branding and how you present yourself and the emotional response that you're getting from your potential audience, if it's working, then you keep doing it. If you find out that it's not working, then you have to rethink it. So branding can be flexible, but it needs to be started off with commitment.
Yeah.
Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, commitment and consistency, totally.
Yeah. So we have a couple hand raises, and so let's start with Jeffrey Lyle Siegel.
Great, because my question piggybacks right onto what you're talking about. One of my shows.
I knew that, Jeffrey.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. One of my shows that was at NYMF in 2008, just like Next Normal, has already gone through 3 different name changes, and we're trying to get a full production. We've been reworking it. We're getting ready to reintroduce it, re-promote it, and we're tearing our hair out about what title to settle on and how you test market what title to settle on. This is something I've never heard any discussion about. Any insights you care to share with us?
Let me just jump in and say that I've always said for the past 20 years of running the TRU play reading series, one of your key marketing tools is your title. There are exceptions. There are lousy titles that manage to be successful and great titles that aren't. But it certainly makes your job a lot easier if you have a title that really is marketable.
So
One thing that I do to test titles I've done it for shows, I've done it for presentations, all different types of things where the title or the headline is really important. Run a series of Facebook ads. Keep everything the same. You run it to 1 or 2 or 3 audiences, whoever you're trying to, ultimately market to. One static image, whatever it is, one piece of body copy, and then change the headline to the different titles that you're trying to test. And then you can simply see what gets the most engagement, what gets the most clicks, what gets the most impressions. And then okay, people are tending towards this one. So you can see what's working best.
Suggestion.
I think Joel Krantz has a question. I have a feeling it's going to be how do you find new audiences? But let's see if I'm right.
Bob, you beat me to it. No, it's important for, I think, the writers that are in this group, because I know a lot of them are all kind of in the same situation. We've produced something, and we hoped social media would be a way for it to expand its audience. But I find that I'm reaching the same people over and over again, and they're getting tired of my constant come to my next watch. So how do I find a new audience? How do I expand my audience? That's what I think a lot of people on this group would like to know more about.
I'm gonna say something, and then I'm gonna turn it over to my guests. This is related to something that people were saying earlier about content on social media. Your content should not necessarily be about your show all the time. If you're going to engage new people with content that they don't feel like they're being sold, then you have to.
You're still reaching out to the same people. It's new people. That's what we're looking for. How do we find new people?
Facebook ads. I mean,
Facebook ads.
Yes, Facebook ads, Twitter ads.
Well, that's an answer.
They're going to go out to the couple thousand people that don't know you.
Okay.
A couple thousand people aren't going to respond, but maybe 10 or 15 will.
No, but that's what you want. You want to reach people you've never reached before.
Yep.
Okay, Roger.
I just have to add this, because that's a very good question and a challenging question. But going back to posting and what you said repeatedly, that people get tired of the same thing. Remember, when you look at social media, particularly something like Facebook, because I don't want to say just social media. I mean, but we can talk about that in a minute. Here's the thing. There are tons of groups out there, subject specific, that have nothing to do necessarily with theater or your play or playwrights or things like that. One of the things I do for my clients, for instance, if I'm local theater NY for many years. So I had clients in Brooklyn, I had clients in Staten Island, places like that. So I would join anything in those geographic areas, any groups, and post on that. If I was doing a children's show, I mean, there's parents of, Forest Hills and all these other groups that you can talk, hey, take your kids to this wonderful show. Totally new audience that might stick around for later shows. So you can utilize social media in a free way also, but shouldn't only be that, to reach these people who might have an interest in your show, which goes back to identifying your audiences. It's a great way to communicate. And or you can hire Jonathan Slath, and he can go ahead and place, you know, press releases and, let's say, children's publications or websites, and hope that that gains traction.
Yeah, Joel, you have very special interest audiences potential with your show. I mean, it's about Middle Eastern spiritualism, spiritual journeys. It's anything to do with spiritualism is probably a potential audience of interest for your show, Ocean in a Teacup, just in case anybody wants to know what it is.
I understand that. I'm more of a new agey kind of spirituality.
Yeah,
is a good audience for yoga. I would
Yoga.
and thing. Yeah, but that's
And mhm.
yeah.
And
Go ahead.
okay. And I would even say, if it's something like yoga, I would find a yoga influencer. So somebody that has a great following, and then, you know, engage them, that maybe they will do a post. So that will bring a whole new audience to you.
and you have a beautiful video of the song about loving. Nothing and no one can stop you from loving. That would probably hit the
Everybody.
strings for. Well, no, you don't go to the everybody. We started off by warning everybody that don't try to appeal to everybody. But very specifically, it's a very passionately spiritual song that will talk to a lot of people. You just have to get it. You have to find your way to those people.
That's
Yeah.
right.
A quick little hack that you could try, which I've done before, is for your show specifically, if you found like a Facebook group, like a yoga Facebook group, I'm sure there's a million of them, go in and post something like, does anyone here love musicals? And then anyone who comments on your post is someone who would like your show, in theory. And then you can literally go through the comments and message every single one of them and say, hey, I saw that you like musicals, you're in this yoga group. I thought you might like my show. Check it out here. It's a free video or whatever. And you can also automate that, which is something I do.
I like that idea.
Oh, Monica, there's so much you need to teach me.
I love all the little hacks.
That's what I need to automate that. Very good.
Any others? Anything before we go to the next question? Anything else you want to tell Joel? No. Murray.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Murray Davis.
Oh, hi, everyone. Okay, when you were talking before about not being able to use the show because of equity, what if it's snippets of a show? In other words, I'm talking, 10, 20, 30 seconds of different pieces of it. They're pieced together in the right way. It could be a fascinating image that people might not know what they're looking at, but it'll engage somebody. Can you do that?
I'm going to answer this one also because nobody knows the answer to that question. It's like, what is the meaning of life?
Story of my life.
One of us has to have the guts to have a discussion with. In my case, it's Theater Authority, because Theater Authority were the people that allowed me to do our benefit in a particular contract where we had an event and we were able to live stream it for 4 days. My understanding is that after the 4 days, nothing is fair game, but I can ask the question. I already asked the question. We were going on to Vimeo right after we did the benefit on Sunday night. We're going to go on video on Monday. Took us 24 hours to figure out how to get it on Vimeo. So I emailed them and I said, I lost an entire 24 hours. May I extend another day? They said, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, Bob, the only thing is that they're so accustomed to people asking for certain things and the instant answer is no. But if you're able to engage them in understanding what it would be, the outcome would be that people might not even know what they're looking at, so they could not relate it necessarily to the show. But again, if it's graphically interesting enough, that could bring people in. That may change their mind.
All right.
And I'll go with you.
All right. But it still requires that somebody has to ask the question. Theater Authority they're really nice about it. Equity is a little harder to ask, and SAG and NAFTA are pretty good in terms of having conversations about things. And a lot of this really comes under the heading of SAG-AFTRA because it is recorded. It's this. We're not talking about a live medium, but that's another meeting. That's another panel. Beth Brown, please ask your question.
Great, thank you. I feel like my worlds have collided. I was digital marketing maven at Condé Nast. So here we've got the digital part and the theater part. And I just worked on 2 solo performances with Judy Gold, ESPA, Primary Stages, and we had 200 people in the room or on the Zoom, and it was amazing. And the way they did their marketing was constant emails, and I found that the hardest piece of the puzzle was finding out who saw the ad and how did they show up. Is it a brand ambassador? Is it somebody who, was it word of mouth, or did they actually, was it worth the money to send out the ads, to send out the emails? How do you measure in this world now?
We usually do post surveys that will state like, how did you find out about the actual Zoom? You could do it easily on an Eventbrite or a SurveyMonkey. That's one way to do it really quickly.
Gotcha.
Tracking Facebook ads, I always like set up custom conversion events. So when anyone like lands on your thank you page, I'm not sure if like in terms of showing up to an actual Zoom reading, how that would work, but I'm sure there's a way to figure it out.
Well, you could track ticket sales. I mean, through Facebook, any of the ads. It's just a question of knowing how to read the back end, which not all of us know this.
Right.
I mean,
and the second part is with emails, your open rate, how are you counting your open rate? How are you counting, if they opened it and they saw the ad, did they show up to the Zoom show? That's the other big question. But the surveys are definitely part of it, but hard to get people to take surveys. You need to entice them with a $50 gift certificate somewhere.
And also just do short surveys. Don't do any more than 5 questions.
Yes.
Good point.
With the email services, Mad Mimi and MailChimp and all those services usually have some sort of a way to give you the metrics on not only who opened the email, but who clicked. And from that, you can get a lot of valuable information. And going back to something that Monica said earlier with A/B testing, meaning you send one set of emails with, let's say, one title or one story or one piece of messaging, and another one with something slightly different. That'll tell you exactly which one works best because it'll tell you who opened up the email, who clicked, so it helps you create copy and it helps you create some sort of a metric, measurement on ROI and ticket sales and things like that.
I also use codes, like if it's a paid opportunity, give a 10% discount or whatever makes sense and track the codes.
Exactly.
So there are ways of doing it. There are things that can be done. We just lost Toni. Oh no.
Yeah. No, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Call came through.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. I thought you crashed again.
I'm on my phone. I'm much better. Thank you.
Maureen, I know what your question is, but go ahead and ask.
Okay, if you've got a musical and it's got 20 songs in it, would it do you any good to do a music video that's different for each song and to post those and put under it what your musical is?
Well, this goes back to the question of the under 1 minute versus 3 or 4 minute for a video. Your songs are going to be longer.
Right.
So are you talking about excerpts or are you talking about full songs for each of them?
Talking about the full songs for each one of them.
That's asking a lot. That's asking a lot of the Facebook people.
For me, I wouldn't do every single one because you don't also want to give away everything for free. Something that I would recommend as a strategy would be get people to sign up for your videos. So you're only serving it to people who are actually really interested, and it's a way to get an email.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, thank you.
I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. Any other questions from the room? So guys, I know this is going to happen. Once I start winding up, suddenly the hands are all going to go up. But I guess the question to the room is, have we answered things in a way that you can actually go forward from here and know a little bit more about what to do? Have things been specific enough? Has the guidance been specific enough that you have some ideas of how you can promote your work? And did we address adequately the whole idea of whether things are different on Zoom versus before? I mean, we started the whole discussion talking about what hasn't changed, but I guess I'm still not clear.
I mean, digital marketing, it's basically you have to do everything online now. I don't know that I would ever, for a digital show, I would ever do a direct mail piece.
Right.
Actually, I did try. Do you guys know Valpak?
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Envelopes.
Haven't
So I
seen
did
it
a
in
little-
years.
Yeah, I did a little experiment a couple weeks ago to see if, for my Broadway Murder Mysteries, if that would sell with like a QR code, because QR codes are like coming back now. It's where, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like a little code that you can put on. You can probably see them in TV ads and things now.
It's the pixelated square. It's a square with a little pixelated unique.
And you used to have to like download a QR code app to be able to use it, but now you can just use your phone camera and just put it up and it opens up the web page. Anyway, so I tried that as like to speaking to, can you get people from print to digital? And the answer is, didn't work. So I would say continue with your digital marketing. Facebook is so important. We didn't really touch on Google advertising, but for your show, buying search terms for your name, your show's name. Yeah, that's definitely something you can do as well. I don't know personally that a whole lot has changed other than just stick in the digital world. But that's just my experience.
I think-
We have
I
a
think-
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Does it work if you have a theater page linked to your Facebook page? Do you mean if your Facebook page and your website linked? How would they link?
Not sure I understand the question.
You can put you always want to put a link to your Facebook page on your web page, so that people click and they go right to your Facebook page.
Yes.
Because that's the way that they can engage. Unless you have a sophisticated web page that involves interaction, that allows people to interact with it, and then you have to have somebody monitoring your blog.
Well, it depends. I mean, I think everyone who's doing a show, if you can afford even a one page, I mean, they're not expensive. You can do your own if you have someone that can help you. But you know, you should have a website for every single production that you do. It could be the tiniest festival show, a 10-minute show. You can actually get websites for free if you're doing something like that. And anytime you create a website, you should link all your social media. Because a website is absolutely useless unless you're talking about it to someone, you know, unless you're talking about it and linking people or bringing people to your website. I see a website as a way to, you know, kind of pull all the information together instead of like little bits and pieces. So on Instagram, you might talk about 10 seconds of that song and how great it is. But if they want to hear the whole song, they go to your website, and there you can, you know, offer them a world of information about your play and when it's going to come up and whatever information you want to put there. So they go hand in hand. They shouldn't be, you know, you don't have to be on every social media platform. You don't, but you should have some social media presence, definitely some press representation in terms of, you know, trying to put articles out there and get represented on some websites, and definitely drive traffic to your website. Because the biggest mistake you can make is build an audience on social media. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to that social media. And Instagram can easily say, oh, those are illegitimate follows, goodbye. And you lose them. So you want to capture emails, you want to bring them to your website, you want to do things like that. It's what what we call in marketing, integrated marketing. It's just a lot of different things to reach a lot of different audiences.
We might as well just bring up right now the different demographics for the different social media platforms. Does anybody want to talk about that? Who tends to visit which platforms? The age group for Facebook skews a little older. The age group for the age group for Instagram is a younger. Facebook and Twitter used to. Where are we with Twitter now? Twitter used to be young, but now I think that everybody's going to Instagram. and TikTok.
Yeah, and TikTok. I do agree with that. Facebook does skew a little bit older. Instagram is younger. Twitter, we're in the process of getting a Twitter handle now, which we're going to have one of our younger folks on the team managing that. But everything does link together, but that's how we use it. For younger shows, we go to Instagram. Older shows we'll use more for Facebook ads.
You go, Roger. For those of you who aren't following the chat, Roger is posting complete information about the demographics for Facebook and Instagram. So
I get that a lot.
Everybody should save this chat for all sorts of reasons.
There's a lot of myths about the different platforms. So I just pulled this information out of I forget where, HubSpot. I think I got it.
Hootsuite. You said Hootsuite.
Hootsuite, yeah. Not HubSpot, Hootsuite. And and I do this actually for my students because we talk about social media marketing, and my clients are all over the place with that. But again, utilize influencers, utilize the marketing person who's helping you. Let other people do shout outs for you. Don't just think that you have to do all the work. Create relationships the same way you would in a real physical, environment, and utilize those friendships, those relationships to help you.
Any other final words from Monica and from Toni? Then we're just gonna call it a night.
I definitely agree with what Roger just stated. In reference to relationships, I'm definitely back. Realemn is back to relationships. Going back to folks that we know, people that we knew way before, and just, reaching back out to them with all of our shows.
I just remembered something I wanted to ask you guys, because I have Roger and I've got Toni here. How does any of this change when you're dealing with diverse populations, diverse audiences versus the normal theater audience, the white Jewish audience? Does any of this change? Do you have any specific ways that you try to attract diversity in your audiences?
I mean, for us, in reference to BIPOC specific shows, it's our subject line. It's the way we talk to the different demographics. So we would talk to a Black audience differently than we talk to a white audience. So we use our subject line very, very carefully in engaging that specific audience. So like Roger said, way from the beginning is knowing your audience and how to approach them.
Roger, anything that you want to add to this? It's actually could have been a very interesting part of the entire conversation tonight, and I neglected it.
Yeah, I think what Toni says is right on the money. It's when someone talks to me. So I happen to be Cuban American, right? But I was born in Cuba. I'm also Latino. I'm also Hispanic. I also can be, I don't know, any number of possible. I could be dad, which I am, all those things. So just speak to me on that level, and I will listen more than if you just generally threw a message out there. So on social media, the beauty is that you can pull demographic information and psychographic information about just about anyone. If you wanted to reach the Cuban community, you can find those people who are talking about Cuba, Cuban food, all those things, and specifically create an audience for that. There was a time when it was like this notion that, you took an English ad, you converted it to Spanish, and you placed it in Spanish language media, and you're reaching that audience, but you weren't talking to them specifically. They understood that all you were doing was translating. So just talk to that audience. And definitely hire Toni for that, because she can help you do that. So
Thank you. I love the plugs. Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Guys, do you want to put your contact information, if you haven't, into the chat, so if you want people to contact you with either questions or a job? And I want to thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate it very much. I make it a point to do a marketing panel at least once a year, because It's like, why? There's no point doing any of this if we don't market it, if we don't get an audience in, then why are we doing any of it? I appreciate it, Monica Hammond. Good to see you. Roger Gonzalez, good to see you, and Toni Isreal. You're the person I've seen the least in the past couple of years, so it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
So
It's good to be here. Thank you.
And I want to also invite you and also the rest of the people that are here tonight to join us for our weekly community gathering. Tomorrow's 4:30, next Friday at 4:30, every 4:30 for the rest of my life. So at Friday at 4:30. So I'm going to keep doing that. Even when we're out of pandemic, it just seems like there's a value in people coming together as a community and having an opportunity to listen to interesting people and also meet each other and talk. In tomorrow's community gathering and the other community gatherings, at the end of our discussion, I put people into breakout rooms so that you can meet each other. I'm not going to do that tonight, but if you want to meet people in breakout rooms, come back tomorrow. If you don't have the link or if you don't know how to find me, it's trunltd@aol.com. Email me and ask me to put you on the Zoom list, and I'll send you the Zoom link for tomorrow. And just a reminder that we have bills to pay, and if you want to support us, I won't stop you. We're doing pay what you can still. We're at the tail end of, I think, this pandemic finally, but we're still pay what you can, because I'm more interested in having the information shared with a lot of people, and more interested in creating a community. That's one of my deepest priorities. So be a part of us, but support us if you can. And Joe Nelms is right on it. Right on it. He's giving you the link, trudonate.com. Thank you, Joe, as always. That's all, folks.